Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, tsunami alerts are up in most parts of the Pacific, including the Philippines, after Russia was rocked by a strong magnitude 8.7 earthquake. Senate President Chiz Escudero defends himself over the alleged billions of insertions in the 2025 national budget. And the Justice Department says another witness is expected to come forward as investigations in the missing sabungeros case resume. We begin with a tsunami alert from the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLS, for those living in the country's eastern coastal areas. This comes after a magnitude 8.7 earthquake was recorded off Russia. Waves under 1 meter are expected to reach parts of the Philippines between 1:20 p.m. and 2:40 p.m. today. These may not be the largest waves, and activity could last for hours. PHIVOLS urges residents in the following coastal provinces to stay away from the shore until the advisory is lifted. These are Batanes, Cagayan, Isabela, Aurora, Quezon, the Bicol region, Eastern Visayas, and the Davao region. People near the shoreline are advised to move inland. Boat owners in harbors or shallow waters should head to deeper seas or stay docked away from the coast. Stay tuned to the Billionaire News channel for updates on this developing story. Like the Philippines, tsunami alerts were also raised across parts of the Pacific. These include Japan, where evacuation warnings were issued for the East Coast. Similar warnings as well in Hawaii and along the California coast. The powerful quake struck off Russia's far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula, triggering a tsunami of up to 4 meters or 13 feet that damaged buildings and prompted evacuations. In Negros Island, PHIVOLS downgrades the alert level in Mount Canlaon from 3 to level 2, noting an overall decreasing trend in activity. PHIVOLS says the volcano is now at moderate risk of unrest, adding that ash plumes have been decreasing since its last emission back in June. Local authorities say residents are still urged to be prepared should the volcano act up again, but there are also plans to decamp evacuees in the coming days. Some major developments in the case of the missing sabungeros. Search and retrieval operations resume in Taal Lake following heavy rains triggered by a series of storms and the habagat. This comes after the National Police Commission, or NAPOLCOM, filed charges against 12 police officers, including high-ranking officials. The Justice Department also says they have another testimony in their hands from a new witness, also holding solid evidence in the case.
Hindi angkop ang kanyang kilos sa magandang pag-resolve ng kaso. Hindi, parang ano lang, ayoko kasi nag-aalangan ako sa tao. Ito kasi very important witness to. Pero meron siyang kinilos na hindi ko gusto. Alam nyo, napakahalaga ng ganitong tiwala sa prosesong to. Tiwala ang pinakamahalagang magkaroon.
With his name tied to billions in alleged insertions, Senate President Chiz Escudero is pushing back, saying every peso was audited. As Hannity reports, the Senate President is proposing full disclosure of budget amendments in Congress.
Wala talaga kayong ibinulsa or meron?
Wala. Kaya nga, gaya ng sinabi, gaya nga ng unang tanong kanina, ayan na naman kayo, tatanungin niyo ako ng ganyan tanong, tapos i-quote niyo ako ng base sa tanong ninyo. I think that's an unfair thing to do, quite frankly. If I have never had, no single case has ever been filed against me in my 27 years in government.
Senate President Chiz Escudero insists he did not pocket a single cent from the 2025 national budget, saying all his projects in Sorsogon underwent proper audit and were requested by local government units. This after a document surfaced which has billions worth of Escudero's alleged insertions in the 2025 national budget. Despite being on a hot seat, Escudero is now pushing for transparency, starting with the bicameral conference committee. And if the president himself is calling for reforms, the Senate must respond. The bicameral budget meetings often happen behind closed doors, and sessions are just Secretariat staff reconciling numbers from the House and the Senate versions.
When I was the Finance Committee Chair, binuksan namin yung BICAM. Wala namang nagpuntang media. In-announce nung nakaraan din.
The real deliberations, where items are inserted or removed, are not usually made public. To address that, Escudero will propose to Finance Chair Senator Win Gatchalian the release of a matrix showing which senator requested what amendments and in what amount.
Pero nagawa na rin dati yan, na pinanukalang amendment na bawat isa ay ginawang open. Kaya nga mas gusto ko, di ba, lahat pinagdedebatihan sa plenaryo, imbis na sa caucus.
Escudero even urged cabinet secretaries to be equally transparent, saying if they request for additional funds or confidential budgets, those requests should also be made public. He says many budget changes originate from the executive branch, and sometimes they're only communicated directly to House and Senate leaders without formal announcements.
Yon, nagiging transparent din ba yon? Minsan, yung mga secretary makikipag-appointment na lang bigla, di ba? At hihilingin na lang sa isang senador.
And now a growing number of lawmakers from both houses want to put a stop to that. In the Senate, Senator Risa Ontiveros filed a joint resolution seeking to make all BICAM meetings public. The measure demands 3 key changes: live-streamed BICAM sessions, a detailed comparison matrix of the Senate and House versions of the budget, and public access to complete meeting minutes. The rest was co-authored by other members of the minority and majority senators Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino. A matching resolution was also filed at the House, led by Representatives Chel Jokno, Percy Sendanya, and more. Under the proposed reforms, open BICAM would mean more than just a ceremonial opening. It would mandate full disclosure on who added, deleted, or revised provisions in the final budget bill. The push to open BICAM has existed for at least 15 years, largely driven by minority lawmakers, budget watchdogs, and transparency advocates. But this is the first time there's a joint formal resolution from both House and the Senate to institutionalize a fully transparent BICAM process, making it significant. Who knows, after more than a decade of budget controversies, pork barrel insertions, and secrecy, this could finally be the beginning of a truly open BICAM process. Hannah Tia, Billionario News Channel.
After the severe flooding from monsoon rains, actress Jella Alonte is now also flooded with criticism. She has gone viral for staying silent on the issue of political dynasties, an issue her own family is deeply involved in. Joash Malimban reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. called out corrupt practices in flood control projects during his fourth State of the Nation address on Monday. He did not name names but issued a scathing rebuke to officials who allegedly pocketed funds meant to protect Filipinos from disasters.
Kaya sa mga nakikipagsabwatan upang kunin ang pondo ng bayan at nakawin ang kinabukasan ng ating mga mamamayan, mahiya naman kayo sa inyong kapwa Pilipino. Mahiya naman kayo sa mga kabahayan nating naanod o nalubog sa mga pagbaha. Mahiya naman kayo, lalo sa mga anak natin na magmamana sa mga utang na ginawa ninyo nang binulsan nyo lang ang pera.
A day later, a video of Jella Alonte, an online personality and the daughter of Binyan Mayor Angelo Jel Alonte, resurfaced online and quickly went viral.
What are your thoughts about political dynasties here in the Philippines? Paano ba yan? Nasa political dynasty yung pamilya ko. Ay, controversial.
The clip was originally posted last year, but it resurfaced amid public frustration over flooding in Laguna, particularly in Biñan, which has been under the rule of the Alonte family for decades. Jella is the niece of former Congresswoman and Biñan Mayor Len Alonte Naguiat, a known associate of several billionaires, including Chris Aquino. Len Alonte is also known for giving designer bags to her celebrity friends. Jella is currently in a relationship with a reality TV show contestant. In a post on X, Jella responded to the renewed criticism. She said there's a difference between pulling others down and calling them out. She admitted her answer may have been wrong and that nobody's perfect. But online, her response fueled even more negative reactions, most of them pointing to the unresolved flooding in Biñan, despite the Alonte's long-standing control of the city. Last week, Billionaire News Channel went to Barangay de la Paz, one of the most flood-prone areas in Biñan. During the onslaught of Typhoon Crising and the Habagat, many parts of the barangay were submerged. Residents say, even without a storm, a few hours of strong rain is enough to turn low-lying streets into waterways.
Kapag ka po talaga tag-ulan, malimit po talagang bahain.
Some roads in the area even start to resemble docks, with boats serving as the primary mode of transportation for residents during floods. In an interview last week, Mayor Jed Alonte said that despite efforts, the local government has struggled to mitigate flooding in low-lying barangays like De La Paz. He said the city needs multiple pumping stations to effectively redirect floodwater into Laguna de Bay.
Naniniwala po ako isang solusyon po dito ay talagang magkaroon tayo ng isang mga pumping stations po para at least magkaroon ng parang reservoir para habang puno, pag ano pwede nating i-transfer po sa lawa. Yun po ang isang kailangan, although medyo malaking budget po ang halaga ang kailangan, kaya kikiusap po kami sa ating mga boss, kay Presidente kung kaya po matulungan po ang mga tagalungsod ng Biñan.
He says the project could cost hundreds of millions of pesos, a cost the city cannot shoulder alone. President Marcos, meanwhile, has ordered the Department of Public Works and Highways to conduct a full accounting and investigation of failed flood control projects nationwide. Whether Biñan will receive the funding it needs or whether the city's leaders will continue to pass the blame remains unclear. Joash Malimban, Billionaire News Channel.
U.S. President Donald Trump talking tough against Russia. Trump warns Moscow would face tariffs 10 days from now if it showed no progress toward ending the more than 3-year war in Ukraine. He says he's not worried about any potential impact of the sanctions on the oil market or prices and vows to boost domestic production to offset risks.
We're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs, the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Onto the war in Gaza, as President Trump is rejecting the UK's plan to recognize a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly in September. Trump says, though, he has not discussed the matter with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. London's move is in response to growing public anger over the humanitarian situation in Gaza.
You know, you're rewarding Hamas if you do that, and I don't think they should be rewarded, and I'm not about to do that.
Gaza's health ministry says almost 60,000 have died since the war between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas erupted on October 7, 2023. Coming up next, the Quezon City government gets ready for its increased efforts against human trafficking. We get an update when Newsfeed at Noon returns. You're back on Newsfeed at noon. Now to the Supreme Court, where its ruling on VP Sara Duterte's impeachment sparks legal pushback. Pro-Duterte lawyers are preparing to file indirect contempt charges against critics of the SC decision. Joash Malimban is on the line for the details. Joash, who are they going after?
A group of pro-Duterte lawyers marched from Liwasang Bonifacio to the Supreme Court today to file an indirect contempt complaint against Presidential Advisor Larry Gadon, Akbayan Representative Percy Sendanya, and political analyst Richard Haydarian. Two separate complaints are set to be filed by attorneys Ferdinand Topacio, Mark Tolentino, and Rolex Suplico, all allies of Vice President Sara Duterte and affiliated with the PDP party. The complaints stem from the respondents' alleged malicious statements against the Supreme Court's decision upholding the unconstitutionality of the articles of impeachment filed against Vice President Sara Duterte. The complainants stress that while free speech is protected, it should not be used to malign, insult, or undermine the credibility of the judiciary. The Supreme Court earlier ruled that the fourth impeachment complaint, which had been transmitted to the Senate, was filed in violation of the one-year bar rule and was therefore unconstitutional. The High Court also said the Senate had not acquired jurisdiction over the matter. Earlier today, retired Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio and constitutional framer attorney Christian Monsod held a press conference criticizing the ruling, saying that the court may have overstepped its authority. Carpio and Monsod argued that the decision redefines what constitutes initiation in impeachment proceedings, potentially setting a troubling precedent. In response, Presidential Advisor Larry Gadon dismissed the filing and challenged Attorney Topacio to a one-on-one voice and singing competition for a cause. Mai.
Thank you for that report, Joash Malimban from the Supreme Court. The Quezon City government is going all out in its campaign against human trafficking. Joan Manalo joins us on the phone for an update. Go ahead, Joan.
The Quezon City government is reinforcing its commitment to end all forms of human trafficking and make the city safer for its citizens. This after two incidents of human trafficking was recently reported in the city. Speaking at the conference today, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte revealed that 6 minors were rescued from a small hotel in Novaliches in an operation conducted by the Philippine National Police in May this year. The victims were first turned over to the city's Social Services Development Department for intervention and processing and were later referred for protective custody. Belmonte also reported that on June 18, personnel from the PNP and the city's SSDD rescued another 24 individuals from a different small hotel in the area. As a result, the Quezon City government has ordered the closure of these establishments. Belmonte further underscored the severity of the issue, citing a 2022 study by the International Justice Mission, which found that 1 in every 100 Filipino children has been a victim of trafficking for the production of child sexual exploitation material. The study attributed this to foreign demand for photos, videos, and live streams of sexual abuse. Quezon City has recorded 97 human trafficking cases in 2024, and in response, as a local government, formalizing the role of the hospitality sector in this advocacy with the launch of the QC Safe Seal, short for Quezon City Stops All Forms of Exploitation. Under the QC Safe Seal program, participating establishments are required to train all personnel, especially facing employees, to identify and respond to trafficking indicators, strengthen check-in procedures, particularly when minors are involved, designate a safety and protection champion to oversee the implementation of trafficking-related protocols and policies, and install signage indicating that an establishment is a safe zone. Belmonte emphasized that bridging the gap from policy to practice cannot be done by government alone. She also stressed the importance of the hospitality industry in the mission, pointing out that traffickers often rely on legitimate businesses to operate. Belmonte also made an appeal to travel agencies, urging them not to book clients in hotels that do not bear the QC Safe Seal. Mai.
Thank you, Joan Manalo reporting. The Senate is getting down to business with key committee chairmanships now assigned. The 20th Congress begins to chart its course on issues like education, agriculture, and public accountability. Hannah T returns with this report.
Senators in the 20th Congress have officially been assigned their committee chairmanships, a key step that will shape the legislative agenda in the next 3 years. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano currently holds the most committees. That's 4 in total. These are accounts, justice and human rights, higher technical education, and science and technology. Meanwhile, at least 5 committees remain unassigned, including economic affairs and urban planning. These may be filled later in this session. Senator Bam Aquino has been named chair of the Committee on Basic Education. He described it a crucial responsibility and says there's an urgency to fix what he called an education crisis. Fellow opposition and former food security czar Senator Kiko Pangilinan returns as chairman of the Committee on Agriculture. He vowed to address high food prices and support farmers and fisher folk. Senator Rodante Marcoleta now heads the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers, more commonly known as the Blue Ribbon Committee. He promised to lead the panel with integrity as it investigates corruption and government irregularities. Senator Mark Villar returns as chairman of the Committee on Public Works, while his sister, Senator Camille Villar, will lead the Committee on Environment. Both committees play a central role in water management, with LUA under DPWH and La Mesa Dam and Laguna Lake under DNR. Agencies under the jurisdiction of their respective panels. It can be recalled that Villar-owned water service provider Prime Water is now under independent investigation of LUA after complaints from concerned citizens regarding their service. Senator Bato de la Rosa will continue to chair the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, a role he has held since the 18th Congress. The former PNP chief says his experience in law enforcement remains central to his committee work. Other notable assignments include Senator Joel Villanueva for the Rules Committee, Senator Amy Marcos for Foreign Relations, who first launched an investigation on the irregularities on the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte, and Senator Win Gatchalian for Finance. Gatchalian is set to share his plans on transparency and budget discipline after issues at the Senate regarding alleged billions worth of budget insertions in the national budget. The new committee lineup sets the stage for policy making under Senate President Chiz Escudero's leadership. Hannah Tia, Billionario News Channel.
An early Christmas gift from Mariah Carey as the pop diva is set to roll out a brand new album. That story and more when Newsfeed at Noon returns. Indian Navy ships drop anchor in Manila on a goodwill visit, marking stronger defense cooperation between India and the Philippines. Andrea Salva joins us from Manila's port area. Andrea, go ahead.
Mai, 3 Indian warships arrived at Manila South Harbor earlier today as part of the Indian Navy's ongoing operational deployment across Southeast Asia. The ships INS Delhi, a guided missile destroyer, INS Kiltan, an anti-submarine warfare corvette, and INS Shakti, a fleet tanker, were formally welcomed by the Philippine Navy and representatives from the Indian Embassy during a brief ceremony. In his remarks, Rear Admiral Sushil Menon, a flag officer commanding the Eastern Fleet, thanked the Philippine government for its warm reception. During their stay, the Indian Navy is set to engage in various professional exchanges with their Philippine counterparts, including subject matter expert discussions, cultural visits, and joint community outreach programs. These activities aim to strengthen interoperability and foster closer naval cooperation between the two countries. A maritime cooperative exercise with the Philippine Navy is also scheduled to take place next week in Subic, Zambales. Of particular note is the 27-year-old INS Delhi, which features the indigenously developed BrahMos missile system, the same missile system recently acquired by the Philippines from India. The visiting crew also introduced various surveillance aircraft to the Philippine media, stating that these systems can distinguish military vessels from civilian ships with precision. Mai, this is not their first visit. The same 3 warships made a goodwill port call to Manila last year, while the last joint naval drills between India and the Philippines took place in 2021 in the West Philippine Sea. Mai?
Thank you for that report. Andrea Salve, live from Manila. Mariah Carey has a comeback album. The Grammy-winning singer is set to release Here for It All on September 26th. This will be the pop diva's 16th studio album. Mariah has previously dropped the album's first 2 tracks, Type Dangerous and Sweet. Her last full-length album was Caution back in 2018. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay with the Billionaire News Channel. Good afternoon.